With the container home complete and the fence around my property complete, it's now time to start homesteading. The whole reason I moved out of Miami to this rural part of Florida in the first place. So let me show you how I built this chicken coop. So the first thing to do is to start shoveling and wheelbarrowing by hand an entire dump truck of soil into position. I'm doing this because I've noticed that near the end of the rainy season around October, after 5 months straight of nonstop rain, that on the handful of low spots on my property there is some shallow puddling that forms only about 2 inches deep, and the puddling disappears a couple days after a rain shower. It's not a big deal, but it turned out the best location for my chicken coop in terms of shade and proximity to the house was located in one of the low spots, so I decided to raise the grade a few inches in that area. Hence the 4 days of nonstop shoveling and wheelbarrowing. All right, we're back. Day number 2. All right, so here we are. I got a nice starting layer in the entire footprint. As you can see right there, got all these mounds. So to finish off the grading, now I'm just adding some more dirt to help get me up to the final elevation, and then I'll tamp it all out and that's it. And here I'm filling the dirt for the ramps. There's 2 main access points for the chicken coop and run, the run entry door and the coop clean out door. So I wanted to make sure I had enough soil left to make nice, big, gradual ramps to access. This 3D model of the chicken coop and run is available to download right now. Just click the link in the description below. Once you download the model, you'll be able to explore the coop and even hide and reveal the various layers of it by clicking these buttons here. Again, to download the model, just click the link in the description below. Get a full shot here. That's the nice gradual ramp. And go ahead and call it a day right there. All right, so we are final. Strings are square, measuring 7 by 7. We've got a very accurate footprint. So hang on, let's rewind and let me catch you up to speed. The batter boards and strings you just saw completed will mark the outside corners of the 7 by 7 chicken coop base. As you can see in the 3D model I made, the coop begins on the ground with 4 pieces of 4 by 4 pressure treated posts embedded in concrete and then framed out. From there, I'll be erecting the 4 walls of this lean-to style structure, assembling the roof on top, and so on. But in order to get this perfectly square 7 by 7 base, I had to use a common yet ingenious system of layout, which is what you're about to see. So the whole idea behind batter boards is that you can start general and then gradually hone in your precision. So to start, you can see I'm just hammering in 4 pieces of rebar to roughly mark the 4 corners of the 7 by 7 square. This is by no means exactly 7 by 7 or exactly square. The purpose of these rebar is so I have a rough idea where I have to set up the batter boards. Let me grab the level. Pretty close. Wants me to go down a hair more. Beautiful. Right. And there's your first batter board. Pretty straightforward thing, pretty simple. So it's one thing to make each individual batter board level at each individual batter board location. It's quite the other thing to make each separate individual batter board assembly at exactly the same elevation. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the laser level. I know I will be setting everyone at the same elevation, so we're good on that. And center this one. Okay, very good. Check the elevation with the laser receiver. So got to go down quite a bit. Probably really close now. Yeah. The funny part now is I can just use the level to find the point where this one has to go. Where to go. Close enough. Screw it in. All right, 2 batter boards down, 6 more to go. All right, batter board's complete. Take a look. The next few days, but as you can see, batter boards took me about an hour. If I can get these strings up to establish the final perfectly square 7 by 7 foot footprint of the coop. Of the 4 pins I put in, the only one that I consider like final and true and reliable is the first one. These are kind of very rough, but this one is essentially final. So I think I'm going to be able to use that point as an important marker for the first few strings that I draw. As you can see, there's that starter point pin right there. Got a small piece of block. This is going to act as a temporary weight to hold the string over the batter board and in place wherever I drop it until I know the final location, because there's going to be a little bit of wiggling I'm going to have to do to get it right. So this is going to allow me to just temporarily move the string while holding it in place. Once I know the exact final point, I'll hammer a nail in and tie the string to the nail. Let me go ahead and just tie this to the block. That should do it right there. Now I'm going to take this, go all the way to the other side, and tie a block over there as well. All right, we got 2 floating blocks. Here is floating block there, and you can see other blocks suspended floating over there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and now put the other string. So obviously this string, as you can see, it's kind of already touching this final and confirmed rebar pin. So I've got this string now in place for this access, fairly close to that pin, running all the way to the other side. Now I want that crisscross. I want this exact point marked by strings overlapping each other. So now I'm going to attack this batter board with a string that comes across to that batter board over there. All right, I just dragged the string all the way over there, but you can kind of see just already we've got a sort of intersection here. All right, and just tied this one up. All right, so as you can see, there's that starter pin. So I can now basically come here and I can take this temporary block with the string. I can basically lift this up off the batter board and move the string and then drop, and it'll hold there. It's very, very easy, temporary way to get increasingly accurate until you can finally put your final nail in. So I'm just going to put this right now so it's touching the rebar right about there. So now it's kind of holding that point. I'm going to go ahead now and do the same thing for this one over here. Just going to move this string until it's touching the rebar, As you can see, it's clearly missing the rebar right now. And now, just because you have two lines crossing at a particular point doesn't mean that those lines are crossing at a nice 90-degree angle. I then proceeded to check for square at the intersection and tweak the string placement repeatedly until I was happy I'd reached pretty close to 90 degrees. Once I was confident in the final string placement, I used a black marker to mark the final string location, as you can see here. Then I hammered a nail into place right at that point and repeated this on the 3 other batter boards, and then tied the strings to the nails. Then remove the string from this block weight like so, and it's just really convenient. Yeah, I like that. That is what I'm talking about right there. So day 7 is a big day. I'm going to finish up the last few strings that need to be attached, and then finally I'll be digging the holes and inserting the Coop base 4x4 posts into the ground and setting them into concrete forever. All right, so we are final. Strings are square, measuring 7x7. We've got a very accurate footprint. So I put the strings back up here, give you a sense. Remember that the string marks the outside corner of the 4x4. So technically the center of the post is somewhere around here. This will suffice. I probably could have moved it over this way a little bit more, but it will have at least about 2 inches of concrete on this end here, so it'll still be held in place well, but I could have centered that a little better. Okay, first hole, second hole, and I definitely centered it better this time. Again, the center of the hole is not where they crisscross. That's the outside corner of the 4x4. So the 4x4 is actually nested right in this corner. Pretty decent work out there. Now it's just a matter of mixing some concrete and dropping these 4x4 posts right in there. Going to be a bit precarious. I need to make sure that the posts are perfectly level when they're submerged in the concrete inside of here, and that the posts are perfectly on the corner where the strings meet. So it's going to be real tedious, real precarious, but you know, there they are. Let me do a dry fit. Let's see what this looks like, and just put it so. Let's see what dry fit there. This 3D model of the chicken coop and run is available to download right now. Just click the link in the description below. All right, day number 8. Today, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to take these 4 posts, chop off just a hair off of 3 out of the 4 because there's slight elevation variations, but it was basically because at the bottom of the holes there was some moisture down there, so the mud was a soft kind of muddy mixture. It wasn't a really firm solid foundation for the post to sit on, so there was some elevation differences between them, which I expected that would happen. So basically I used the lowest of the 4 posts as my baseline, set the laser level to it, and marked the height difference on the other 3 posts so I could chop off that excess. So of course the idea here is to do an incredibly straight cut. It's easier said than done. I think this is a good 90 here. And you know, just gonna do my best. It may not be 100,000,000% perfect, but at least I'll know I'll be a lot closer than this pretty significant 1/4 inch excess. So let's go ahead and see if this is working. All right, let's do my best here. All right, here I go. Wish me luck. Chisel this off. Yeah, that's real smooth. What a smooth cut that was, but wow. Really unfortunate how absolutely horrible that came out. Wow. Wow, that is embarrassing. Gee, oh. Let me just find out which one of these is closer to it so I know what I have to cut off. Put out the laser, sit it on top of this. Yeah, so as you can see, there's like clearly one side that's a little higher than the other. The high side is pretty much laser level. The low side is lower than it was originally supposed to be. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little piece of wood shim here, little wooden shim, and maybe just nail it into place, and that'll be good enough. All right, so I just did that one. Let's see how off this one is. I'm going to go ahead and try the angle grinder. Here goes nothing. This might get us close. I think this is going to do it. Definitely did a more controllable job. So this'll do. As you can see, these boards, you know, they kind of come in here. They're going to be resting on top in these slots here. So this is a Simpson product, but I mean, you can kind of get the idea. But so yeah, it's a pretty interesting one. It allows a 90-degree connection on either side to a 4x4 slotted over here. Fits on there. And you see he's got this perfect 90s. All right. Yep. See how this fits? Perfect. Just one screw on this bracket. Right. Very good. Now let me check all around. Just a hair low. Okay. Put the next one in. bro. Alright, let me get this one in now. Just did that one. Okay. Got that all screwed into place. I am getting about a 1/16 of an inch variance on some sides, but again, the diagonals are almost perfect, so this is great. And four of these. Hit it with a nail. All right, so yep, got those rafters in place. I mean, this thing has got to be a complete unit right now at this point. It has to be such a unit, but that's looking fantastic. Nice and square, nice and flush. So yeah, I mean, at this point, it's basically time to start framing those walls. So the night before, I used the 3D model I made to generate images showing the exact measurements for all 4 walls. As you can see, there's nothing particularly complex about these, but there are a few key things I had to keep in mind and get exactly right. For the front wall, I had to get the size of the door right, as well as the exact distance between these 2 studs so the plexiglass windows would fit. For the right wall, I had to space these 2 studs perfectly apart so the automatic chicken door would fit. For the back wall, I had to once again make sure the 2 studs were spaced sufficiently to allow the window panes to fit. And lastly, for the left wall, I had to space all these studs exactly the right amount, as each one would represent the boundaries for the entrances into each of the 6 nesting boxes. This 3D model of the chicken coop and run is available to download right now. Just click the link in the description below. 6-inch cut. Tape measure, tedium, always all over the place. Oops. Here's our double top plate. So let me go ahead and start by locking the ends in place. Put number 2 in. Go ahead and lock the front end in place. Nail. Let's get this one in. All right, and let's get that last corner over there. Hesitating because my fingers were so close. All right, very nice. Our first, from the end to the left side of this first one, 1 foot 1 1/16 of an inch. 2 feet 1 5/16 of an inch. 3 feet 1 9/16 of an inch. Very good. Double top plate time. Flush it up over here. Final place. A little bit of warping on this. And we got that one. Next. Okay, the front facing wall is now complete. Let me pick this one up and put it aside. Significantly heavier. Substantially heavier. All right, let's see how this works. Okay, not as bad as I thought. Bring this down and just lean it. One, two, three, and then the fourth one is already done lying down there. Go ahead and stand these walls up and nail them into place. All right, so what I would prefer to do is be able to stand all four walls up without putting a single nail in, without nailing them to the floor. Hopefully they're stable enough they can stand on their own with no risk of like crazy toppling. Okay, I'm coming up. See what happens here. Yeah, look, see how it wants to fall on its own. So, put it back up. Oh. Okay. Let's see if I can provide some balance while I grab that nail gun. Let's be super strong. I just need a little resistance. The side walls, double top plate overlaps right up there in that nook. So that will just come on top afterwards. The other one will come on top afterwards, and the front just butts up against everything. So I'm going to go ahead and pop some nails in. I'm confident in this. Put one nail here. Beautiful. Switch hands, come to the other. I could already feel it's more, that nail is already providing good resistance for me. Beautiful. The wall now holds on its. Let me move the tripod. You're watching right here. Tripod. Grab this and move it. All right, this is coming together fast. Here we go. Moment of truth, I guess. Very nice. Sliding over pretty well up there. Nice. Right into place. Get in there, buddy. All right. Close. So you can see we got access there. Let's try to. Okay. Let go. Okay. So I think it will hold for now on its own. Yeah, I mean, you got your four walls. I mean, what else is there to say? So, yeah. Looking good, exactly like it is in the model. Yep. Got that nail in place. Give us a little bit of a sanity. Make sure I'm on the siding and not on the freaking 2x4 framing. Perfectly level. I'm gonna pop one in here. Okay. So. As you can see, guys, it's supposed to fit like it's supposed to fit. You've got the overlap part. Overlap. So day 12 was the roof install. Since this is a lean-to style roof, I have to make bird's mouth cuts on the rafters. These usually require rigorous measuring and drawing lines at angles that correspond to the roof pitch of the rafters, etc. But since I had the 3D model, I kind of concocted my own way of making these measurements that I think slightly simplified the process. First, I just placed the rafters into the model and made sure the distance of the overhang was the exact same on the front and back of the coop. Then I lowered the rafter until they were properly submerged, so to speak, onto the top of the wall plates. Essentially, these triangular slivers here are what I'd need to cut out. The key measurement I needed was this here. This vertical plumb rise distance from this exact point where the rafter touched the top plate to where the top plate ends. For the front side of the rafter, the measurement was 1/2 inch. For the back side, it was 11/16 of an inch. So coming back to real life, I simply placed a rafter on top of the walls, made sure the distance of the overhang of the front and back were equal. Then, from the point where the rafters touched the top plate, I used a level to draw a plumb vertical line. Since the level didn't have measurement marks, I drew the line longer than it had to be and then came back with a tape measure to find and mark the half-inch point, and again, half-inch was that key measurement I got from the model. From here, I used the level to draw a level line perpendicular to the first line and extended it to the end of the rafter. Then I simply repeated these steps for the back side of the rafter, though this time the plumb line measurement was 11/16 of an inch. Now it was time to cut these out and hopefully they would fit nice and snug. Alright, let me get that chisel. I'd say that came out pretty close. A bit rough, but it's in the ballpark, I think. Alright. Be right. Beautiful and beautiful. That is actually fantastic. Yeah, look at that. That is just perfect. Honestly, that's really good. Now that I was confident in the first rafter and cuts, I used the first one as a template to trace the cuts for the remaining rafters. Incredible. But I need something to hold one end. Hopefully that'll do it. Here we go. In position. Ay, ay, ay. Get rid of our stand here. So it's looking good. Next up, first things first, I'm going to install the hurricane straps. It's now time to work on the roof. All right, we got one little strip left. It's perfect to me. All right, got that band on the end. Okay. So, somewhere right around here. With the roof done, I now moved on to building the big 4x4 cleanout door. The purpose of this large door is mainly for assisting me in managing the deep litter system I plan to use in the coop. Essentially, the floor of the coop will become a thick bedding of pine shavings, about 8 to 12 inches deep, and once every 6 months to a year I'll do a single total clean out, opening this large 4x4 door and with a rake scraping out pretty much all the semi-broken down shavings. The material will then be recycled for use elsewhere on the property or thrown into a compost pile to break down further, etc. The clean out door is also large enough that if I ever had to climb into the coop, I can. All right, so it's time to start working on the window install. My dad's here today. He's currently working on installing the trim. I'm gonna go ahead and call this. This seems really high up, 2-foot mark. Perfect. So we got them both open, and that's one of the pieces of glass right there. Okay, so we got the quote-unquote window panes. You can see them reflecting there. So those are in just as I did it in the model. They're screwed into the little overlap of siding They definitely don't move. It's looking pretty much the way it should. Okie dokie, they're both in. All it needs is a little bit of trim. Yep, that's just what it's supposed to look like, so we're in business there. All right, let's go ahead and get this in. All right. All right, so there it is. And all three hinges are in place. And yeah, pinky. But I think with all three hinges, this sucker is really not going anywhere. All right, so as you can see, I put these kind of temporary little blocks in to help me hold this in place while I finalize the nailing on this thing. I just got that first screw in. That's my final tilt. All right. Okay, so as you can see, I went ahead and cut my first diagonal piece. It's got those 45 cuts on it. Okay, there you have it. Completed. It's looking quite nice, actually. Let me give it a wiggle. Wow! Wow, I'm impressed.